By WorldWire News, Geopolitical Analysis Desk. Date: May 17, 2025. India's decision in April 2025 to suspend the Indus Waters Treaty (IWT) marks one of the most consequential geopolitical moves in South Asia since the treaty's inception in 1960. This unprecedented action, spurred by the deadly terrorist attack in Pahalgam and attributed by India to Pakistan-based militants, is more than a diplomatic rebuke. It is a calculated signal that water, the subcontinent's most vital resource, is now part of its strategic arsenal. While India has framed the move as a national security measure, the implications stretch far beyond bilateral retaliation. This video critically explores the rationale behind India's suspension, the deep vulnerabilities it exposes in Pakistan, and the potential fallout for regional and global stability. What is the Indus Waters Treaty? The Indus Waters Treaty, brokered by the World Bank in 1960, governs the distribution of 6 rivers between India and Pakistan. India controls the eastern rivers, Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. Pakistan controls the western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab. Despite multiple wars and decades of hostility, the treaty has endured, praised globally as an example of effective transboundary water cooperation. Until now. Why did India suspend the treaty? India claims that Pakistan's inaction or support for terror groups undermines the very framework of trust that underpins the IWT. Following the Pahalgam attack, which killed 26 civilians, India withdrew from treaty-based data sharing and inspection, suspended Joint Commission meetings, accelerated water diversion projects, including doubling the capacity of the Ranbir Canal, initiated legal studies to justify rerouting river flows under the doctrine of hostile state exception. By doing so, India is effectively weaponizing water as a diplomatic and strategic pressure point. Impact on Pakistan: an existential threat. 1. Agricultural catastrophe. Nearly 80% of Pakistan's agriculture depends on the Indus River system. Major crops like wheat, rice, and sugarcane are irrigated through canals stemming from the western rivers. If India diverts water upstream, Pakistan could face drought-like conditions in Punjab and Sindh, the heart of its food production. Food insecurity and rural displacement could escalate quickly. 2. Hydropower disruption. Pakistan generates about 27% of its electricity from hydropower, most of which is linked to the Indus Basin. Reduced water flow could paralyze power plants like Tarbela and Mongla, trigger widespread blackouts in urban and industrial zones, aggravate Pakistan's already fragile energy crisis. 3. Economic and political instability. An economic downturn driven by food and energy shortages will erode public trust in Pakistan's civilian leadership, fuel inflation and unemployment, bolster extremist narratives, further destabilizing the state internally. 4. Strategic humiliation. India's move has exposed Pakistan's dependence and vulnerability. Islamabad is scrambling diplomatically, appealing to the World Bank and urging Western allies to intervene. But under international law, India retains significant upstream rights, especially if it can prove that Pakistan has breached security obligations tied to the treaty's cooperation framework. India's strategy: assertive diplomacy or dangerous gamble? India is signaling a new doctrine of proactive pressure, where non-military tools, like trade, water, and connectivity, are used to counter terrorism. Prime Minister Modi's administration is betting that the move will isolate Pakistan diplomatically, force behavioral change, reclaim strategic deterrence without engaging in open war. However, this bold strategy carries serious risks. International legal challenges may arise, especially as the World Bank maintains that the treaty cannot be suspended unilaterally. China's involvement, given its interests in Pakistan's infrastructure, could introduce a third power into the dispute. Retaliation from Pakistan, whether militarily, diplomatically, or through proxy groups, could escalate the conflict far beyond water. Global reaction. The World Bank has reiterated that the treaty is legally binding and that unilateral withdrawal is not valid under its terms. The UK and the US have urged both countries to engage in direct talks, fearing the situation could spiral into a regional crisis. Environmental organizations warn that manipulating river flows could have irreversible effects on ecosystems across the subcontinent. Conclusion: a precedent that redefines conflict. The suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty is not just about rivers, it's about power. India has demonstrated that in the 21st century, control over natural resources can be a tool of modern warfare, especially when traditional diplomacy fails. For Pakistan, this is a wake-up call to re-evaluate its foreign policy posture, counter-terror frameworks, and over-reliance on international sympathy. For the world, it is a reminder that climate security and geopolitical security are now inseparable. Final thought: India may have fired no bullets, but with a pen stroke suspending a treaty, it may have done more damage than a battalion ever could.